behind here this evening, but if you would, hit the like button, share a link to the show, follow, subscribe, grab a link from the description of the video. You'll find us on YouTube, Rumble, Odyssey, Build.net, and X. Hope you're doing well. If you could, hit the like button, share a link. Ba-dum-bum-bum. How you doing? How was the day? Can you hear? Can you see? Turn this up a bit. Hello. That's a bit better. Welcome to a stream. If you could, hit the like button, share a link to the show. I want to talk to you a bit about this Hantavirus. about the... I'll move this a bit. About this new PSYOP, the new coronavirus, the new thing, the current thing. That's how I see this. One, I don't believe that it's even a real thing. I don't believe that the events they're claiming are even real. Maybe I'll see more evidence of it later, but for now, I don't see it. Seems like it's a theatrical performance, like a simulation that we're running through with the boat and the people on it, and now that we're seeing new people cast into different roles to claim that they were there. Oh, I was also on the boat. Oh, and now we're going to talk to someone who was also on the boat a month after the fact. It's all very strange. To me, I don't buy it. Not believe in it for a second. So we'll talk about the Hantavirus. I almost said the coronavirus. The Hantavirus. Looking for a way to make that a slur. We're going to find one. Yehudis are what the Muslims call the Jews. The Yehudis. As like a pejorative. It's like calling them a kike. Like you'd be like, oh, yeah, Yehud. In Detroit, they would see a gang of Muslim kids look across the street at the proverbial Jewish kid, and they'd go, oh, a Yehud. So I'm thinking, how do I call a Hantavirus a Yahuntavirus? We're going to find a way to blame them. Here, the first case of Hantavirus diagnosed in Israel after the patient's visit to Eastern Europe. That's interesting. Wait a second. Now, if I jump over to, I'd have to go to Laura Loomer's account, wouldn't I? And I know that I'm blocked, but I'm going to try anyway. Laura, that's not it. Laura Loomer. I guess that's just what happens when you search her. This is the account I'm looking for that posted, well, two things. One, the Jews are afraid of rats. No idea why. How is it that Jews can simultaneously own New York City, but also be afraid of rats? Have you seen this? Very, very odd. Let's see if my reply pops up or if it's been hidden. Oh, there it is. Yeah, Jews are afraid of rats. We didn't know. Also mirrors. I think it's the same thing. But I was looking for this. From Parody Jeff, Laura Loomer had tweeted this, and she deleted it right after. So it's very strange behavior. To the layman, but not to me. I understand it. She first thought, I'm going to project what Israel is doing. And then either was told, better delete that, or she thought better of it, I better delete that, because it's no longer there. But she says, I wouldn't be surprised if Iran is behind the Hantavirus. Just my thought. So she's admitting something here she probably doesn't mean to. And maybe they told her, like, hey, pull that fucking tweet down. That looks really dumb. Because she's saying, you could blame a country. Someone is behind the Hantavirus. She works at the Pentagon. She has an advisory role with the President of the United States of America. She claims, and has not been corrected by him and his staff, to be the most revered and respected, credible associate advisor to the President from the Pentagon that's ever walked. So she's telling you, in her frame of mind, in her worldview, this isn't a natural outbreak. Okay, I agree. But because she wants to run cover for Israel, and she knows it's not a natural outbreak and it's likely an Israeli PSYOP, you'd have to wonder, why would she then immediately take that guilty flashlight and shine the light instead on the opponent she wants you to think is the guilty one? Can you see what I'm saying? She is projecting exactly what Israel is doing onto Iran. But she gives away that it's all fake in the posting, so she has to do some deleting. She says, I wouldn't be surprised if Iran is behind the Hantavirus, admitting then that one of Trump's closest advisors at the Pentagon believes the Hantavirus is a forced outbreak or a release, intentional or otherwise, or we can just say is a PSYOP. Would the Israelis just stage an entire story about a boat that had an outbreak on it, and they could create that data in the world through their media assets so that there's no way to prove it didn't happen, because the only evidence of it are these stories that are being reported by their assets in the media? So they can create a reality, which is you have hundreds of people making decisions for their businesses, millions of people across the country, trying to determine what the rest of the year looks like and forecasting business models with a possible lockdown or shutdown or slowdown of the economy because of a pandemic that they don't know exists, but they are told because of the headlines they should be worried about. You see what I'm saying? So coronavirus on paper exists, but you or I or anybody else, we just go to a local place and have them do a swab, and what we come to find out is that swab just tests positive for any coronavirus ever. Okay, well, that's very different from the COVID-19, but it was enough to justify at the time a lockdown and a scare and make everyone afraid. And now, it was really just a rebranded, repackaging, marketing effort of a common cold. So anyone who had a common cold, they made you fear that you were going to die from it. Anyone who then went to the hospital got killed by the hospital. Remdesivir and the ventilators blowing people's lungs out, making them suffocate in their own blood and mucosa. Sound familiar? That wasn't COVID doing that. But they made you think that it could have been, and that was the justification to begin that ball rolling. And now they're going to do the same thing with Hantavirus. And so I'm pointing this out now. It's not that coronavirus didn't exist. It's that common colds exist all over. And hospitals can kill you if you sign away your life and go on a ventilator and you're incapacitated. It's very simple. But we don't want to think that way while it's happening. We can think that way now. In hindsight, it's obvious. So do they have to take a real virus? Or do they take a virus that exists? It's already been branded. For decades, people have known what this virus family is. It's got a Wikipedia page, just like the coronaviruses already did. And then they will say, this new hantavirus outbreak is a mutation from the original family that could not be transmitted human to human. It was only from a rodent to a human. That was how you could catch it. The human had to catch it from the source. But this one is going to have been evolved. Then they will leak. Eventually, when they say, this doesn't look authentic, this looks like it could have been a leak, then they're going to tell you that, okay, maybe it was a leak. It could have possibly been, but we're not sure from where. And the whole time, now you're going to believe this is a real problem. It is a real pandemic. And the original base story must have been a real event. Instead of writers in a writing room in Tel Aviv somewhere saying, do we have a boat that we can schedule to just be out in the ocean during the month of April? Do we have people that we can sign over, military or otherwise, to staff the boat? Can we make it appear as though, just to run through the motions, can we hire some actors to become government assets? We're going to bring them in on a national security project years in advance or months in advance and sign their life over to us, and then we'll own them. So we have a travel international influencer blogger guy who is like the source of information for this Hantavirus cruise ship. And I believe they're running his videos and they're running his test story with audiences to see if people believe it, to see if we buy in, to see if we care. If you call it out and you say, it's nothing, I don't believe it, that's bullshit, then maybe they don't pull the pin on the rest of this stuff. But people saw the headlines, they got super excited, and they said, we need to see more information. We need to find more data. Now, you saw last night that lady Dre, she went looking, and there's a bunch of different information posted about the original, the disembarking of the boat. Where did it leave port and when? They can't be sure. Were the people dead on the boat for 28 days, or did they get off weeks prior? Why did the boat continue to go around the world when it had dead people on it? All these things, the details in their original story don't make sense. So is it possible the entire story was made up and they were doing a little bit of kite flying? They want to see what way the winds are blowing, and if you'll believe in the story enough, and if you buy it and you don't ask too many questions, they might run forward, and if it kind of seems like they don't have all their ducks in a row, they might kibosh it. Just my thought. Laura Loomer comes out and kind of gets ahead of the ball a bit and says, wouldn't be surprised if Iran is behind the Hantavirus, admitting that, okay, so there is a country behind it. And if she posts this and deletes it, does it not draw more attention? Are we not supposed to see that and have some people believe it must be a real virus then? This must be a real virus because people at the Pentagon are worried that it was released intentionally. Instead of, the only thing we actually know to be true is the stories are being released. Like a little drip feed, intentionally released the story on the 3rd, and then the 4th, and then the 5th, and the 6th, and now the 7th. Now we've got a death count going. Anyone have a name? Anyone have a number of any real person involved in the story? No, just a headline from a news network. And if you need to verify it, find another headline from another news network citing the first one. I don't believe it's a release at all. I don't believe there's a real pathogen. I think they play acted some people wearing the hospital getup on a boat. We watched the video the other day. You saw they're going to turn the boat around and send it to Holland. We've got all the sick dead bodies off now, and everyone else just needs to calm down and get to their final destinations. That was what we were told. Makes no sense to me. So we have the first case of the Hantavirus diagnosed in Israel. That isn't the first case diagnosed existing in Israel. It's the first case in Israel that's been diagnosed. This says, however, unlike the outbreak of the South American Andes strain currently drawing attention aboard the MV Hondius cruise ship, the Israeli was infected with a European strain of the virus. How is it that you already have a European strain of the virus? Is it possible that this Israeli story is made up entirely? The narrative for the Hantavirus to be scary needs more data points. People are looking at it like, I don't really see much to go. This looks like a nothing burger. We need more headlines, so the Jerusalem Post cooks one up. The first case of the Hantavirus has been diagnosed in Israel. Mariv reports on Thursday the patient is believed to have been infected during a stay in Eastern Europe several months ago and sought medical attention after developing symptoms associated with the disease. So they're going to tell you, maybe the story, as I've been alluding to, maybe the story is fake. Maybe they've been seeding real pathogens all around the world and no one has noticed for a few months. And so now they're like, hey, look at that. Like they're drawing attention in an obnoxious way with a fake story about a boat that you can look at and ask a couple questions and see doesn't make sense. It looks like it's a prop. It looks like it's a live theater performance. Like they said, oh no, this really is a boat. These really are the witnesses. These really are real people witnessing this and experiencing this. Listen to them tell their lines. Read your lines again from the top. That's how it comes across. And so as people see that, they need different stories. They need different headlines. And now here's one. The patient in Israel, the first of his kind, undergoing an antibody test after symptoms appeared months ago, which showed exposure to Hantavirus. A polymerase chain reaction test, a PCR test, exactly what they did during COVID. Why do I have to just explain? It's exactly what they're doing. I knew it. Fuck them. Hey, we're going to take a test that will test whether or not you've ever come in contact with any of the family of this pathogen, any of its relatives, anything that looks like the Hantavirus family, and it's in pieces. So we're looking for fragments of a yes. If we see a Y or an E or an S in there, we're going to assume the word yes once existed. That's what we're doing with a PCR test. We're looking for the chain reaction within the polymerase to find whether or not we see. Do we have to walk it through again? It's been 6 years since they've been talking about PCR tests. The point is, you can determine based on how much you spin up whether you're going to get a yes or a no in the test. Pretty convenient for deciding whether or not you want someone to think they're sick when they already feel symptoms that exactly reflect that of a common cold or a fever. The patient was said to be in stable condition, not in need of intensive care or even strict isolation, but being kept under medical observation. While unusual in Israel, this is not the first time Israelis have been diagnosed with hantavirus. About a decade ago, several Israelis were suspected of having been infected with the virus while traveling in South America. Unlike the outbreak of the South American Andes strain currently drawing attention aboard the MV Hantavirus cruise ship, however, the Israeli patient was infected with a European strain. How do we know? The distinction is significant. There have been only a few documented cases of person-to-person transmission of the more dangerous and well-known Andes strain. So that's the one that only comes from rodents, that doesn't come from human-to-human transmission. Most of the other hantavirus strains worldwide are transmitted primarily from rodents to humans. So then you have to ask the question, how is it that a person on board gets it, brings it on, he and his wife have it, he gives it to his wife as he dies, she then has it, stays with the body on the boat, doesn't quarantine though, and then gives it to everyone else on the ship before she and the cadaver get off. She then collapses once off the boat. Thank God for their insurance company. Then you have a dead couple. What do you do with them? And another person who's now on the boat also sick. That was what we heard 2 days ago. 2 dead, 1 other sick. Then the update was, actually, there's a total of 5 with 3 more on the way. And now, from Israel, they're claiming they get to have their first case. And they're saying it's not nearly as bad as the really bad case, but we do have a bad one, and it's actually kind of a Jewish thing. While unusual in Israel, it's not the first time Israelis have been diagnosed with the hantavirus. So again, when Laura Loomer is saying, this must be Iran, I would suggest maybe we look at Israel instead. Is it not more likely that you'd want to kind of draw some eyes away from what you're doing around the world? Right now, Israel has no friends, no fans. They're losing assets, sometimes by their own hand. So it makes sense to me that they might just want to turn people's attention towards themselves, towards their own health, towards their own mortality. This serves 1,000 different purposes, and none of them are American. This says hantavirus, symptoms, prevention, and how it spreads. Recent news coverage about a suspected hantavirus outbreak on a cruise ship sailing in the Atlantic Ocean, something that no one could vet. Something that no media journalist said nothing. No one could just go and privately dig into that and reach out and see if that's true. Because like they say, they're out in the Atlantic Ocean. They're out in the middle of nowhere. You might as well have gotten a call saying, hey, we had a secret base on the moon with a hantavirus outbreak. And we would only be telling you this because those secret people from the moon just came back from a secret mission. And so they've been among the public for a while, not telling anyone about the secret mission of the moon, but because we now believe they've all been infected, we're telling the public. There's been an outbreak. You'd have no way to vet that, and you'd call bullshit on that too. You'd know full well, okay, so you just been putting it in the water, and you're going to lie and tell us it came from this absurd backstory? We have a ship out in the middle of the Atlantic. What, for a month? Well, it left port on, April 4th? Make it make sense. Okay, so you're out in the middle of the Atlantic. You're just cruising around. But you have people sick and dying on the cruise ship. All the people on the ship are sworn to silence and they don't want to get off the ship? I call bullshit. If they're wealthy enough to afford a weeks-long cruise like this, you'd think they'd also be wealthy and connected enough to make a call off the boat. So no journalist can reach out and talk to people who were on the ship for a week. And it's because I believe they were doing a casting call. They were trying to make sure they had their actors cast for the roles that they need to have them in. It's very hard to have an entire psyopic event take place and unfold with no witnesses and no, crisis actors to ask questions of. And maybe they know better than to overdo it. Like they overdid it with COVID. They overdid it with Sandy Hook. There are videos on YouTube of people walking in loops at the Sandy Hook Elementary School. Asked to walk out this direction, be funneled. Someone's going to be doing the third base coach wave, and then you're going to walk in a loop, go in this garage, walk back out through, and do it again. Because they had to make the scene look busy and emergent and exciting. So they just get some people in there. They've now found that that's really more of a liability than anything. Control the information, make sure that the flow of data is completely controlled by you. And the way to do that is you make up everything from the beginning and you isolate it in a way that no one can get at it. It's a secret outbreak of the Hantavirus. It's a super, super dangerous and deadly version of the Hantavirus. And it's out on a cruise ship in the middle of the Atlantic that no one can get at. But it now turns out all the people from the cruise ship have gotten off and they've gone to their own separate homes. And they knew it then. Does it seem like a real story or a fake story? Because you can replace where they are with anywhere else in the universe, and it's just as realistic. To me. We'll see this from Politico. Here's another one of those million purposes that this serves. Another reason to lie. Politico says, the UN Health Agency chief says this hantavirus outbreak is a perfect example showing why the U.S. should rejoin the World Health Organization. It's not just to shut your economy down and hurt Trump again and taint his chances for not just midterms, but for anyone else in his administration to become elected. It's not enough to distract away from Israel and away from the war and away from the genocide and away from all the other things and away from your taxes. It's not enough to distract from Epstein, but also we're going to claw American money back out of the country. We're going to claw, if you're the deep state, you're going to claw your way back into things like the Paris Climate Accords and the World Health Organization, or maybe becoming a full funding partner of the World Economic Forum. Like, just watch as Trump completely turns heel on all these things that he has said he was against for 8.5 years, 9 years. The UN Health Agency chief demanding that Trump was wrong to withdraw from the World Health Organization. U.S. health officials are now working together with the organization despite Donald Trump's withdrawal. Oh, this is a big I told you so. Again, so now you have to ask, is it even a real thing? Is it even real? The head of the World Health Organization said Thursday he hopes that this outbreak of the deadly hantavirus would prompt the Trump administration to reconsider its decision to leave the United Nations agency. Yeah, if you start to buck Israel, they're going to call you out 10 ways from Sunday, and one of them is by releasing a pathogen or just the story of it, because either one is going to kill your economy. Doesn't even matter if it's real, as we found out from COVID. People catch a cold and they go, oh, boss, I can't work for 2 weeks. I'm going home. Vacation. So Israel doesn't have to actually create a real corona. My corona. They just have to skew the data and make you think there's a real corona. And that alone is enough to allow you in your own twisted, lazy mind to go, maybe I do want to stay home for 2 weeks. Maybe I would be okay with another lockdown. They'll prey on your own worst inclinations and think maybe the average ugly American is lazy. They don't want to work. They're fat. They don't want to, extras, all the things that you can imagine is the worst caricature of an American riding on a scooter through the Walmart. So they would think, dangle the carrot in front of them. Tell them that for their health, they have to stop working. They have to stay home and collect a pittance and do nothing and be economically raped by the rest of the world for another year. Of course, Israel would want you to think that instead of looking at them and having a problem. So, this is a big distraction. I don't even believe it's a real pathogen. I genuinely believe that they're just going to tell you that's what it is. Oh, look, it's a laser pointer on a wall moving. The cat's going for it. And we're all going to look. And I'm not saying that we'll all believe it, but this is what we're talking about today, huh? From the New York Times, global health officials race to track the hantavirus but predict limited outbreak. Almost like, again, like I said, fly a kite, see which way the winds are blowing. If it's not that great, you're not going to go all out with it. People are already saying this is bullshit. They're already calling it a PSYOP. They're already saying, hey, we didn't hang Fauci, and so now we get this. Maybe we should go back and correct that problem. The guys like Bill Gates and the World Health Organization, Naranja, blah, 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 whatever, all those people, send SEAL Team 6 after them. Get them, post a picture like they did with Osama bin Laden. Let us know that they went overboard in the Atlantic, and maybe they'll pop up on this cruise ship and they'll all solve itself. Because we didn't have a justified reaction, and I should say, because we didn't have a reaction that led to justice for the victims of COVID, the victims being the economic victims, the lockdown victims, the children who have developmental issues, and some people who were killed by hospitals and vaccine-related injuries and death, all of those people, they deserve some justification. But it's been how many years? And as years go on, it's going to be harder and harder to convince people that that's an issue they need to stake a claim on. That's the hill they want to die on politically. Someone's going to tell you they can't run for Congress and make it an issue to call for the justifiable legal sentencing to death of all these different leaders in healthcare during COVID. Fauci, Birx, Gates, on down. All the people who had a hand in creating coronavirus, it should be a public execution. But we can't have people running for Congress saying that. That's what they'll tell you. So we just will never have it. We'll never have justice because it's not comfortable to say. And so because we don't demand it, and we don't have it, and we're not getting it, we're going to get more of these things. And in the future, and it may be the case today, there won't be a pathogen. It'll just be a headline. They'll say people are dumb and gullible and selfish and lazy enough that they don't even need to actually be sick. They don't need to actually see a threat. We can just tell them that there's a story of a threat. And then instead of feeling selfish for wanting to stay home and do nothing, they'll feel justified, like they're helping their health. Oh, I'm doing the right thing. A Dutch flight attendant and a French national were among the latest to be tested in connection with a deadly outbreak on a cruise ship. But an analysis in South Africa showed no mutations in viral samples. That's impossible. How does it go from one person to another without mutating? It has to replicate in order to transfer itself and be transmitted. And when it replicates, there will be mutations. This would suggest that the same viral load was mass-produced and then released somewhere. Again, if it's even real. Or are they just calling the lab and saying, hey, did you receive a fax from us just now? Would you print that out? Yeah, grab that off the fax machine and then read it aloud in the camera, please. And they go and they say, we just ran this report and it turns out we also have Hantavirus. Look at us go. It's the exact same. No mutations whatsoever. It's the exact same Hantavirus down to the... I mean, how many different coronaviruses were there? And in the learning of that whole charade, we found out that coronavirus can't be transmitted from one person to another without some transmission, evolution, mutation, change, something. So to find it all, it's just all very odd. This is why I say, if they just plant the story out there and let people squawk, and no one actually has the virus at all, it almost has the same effect as 10 people dying of it and no one knowing anyone with it at all. No one has this at your work. No one has Hantavirus at the factory down the street. But they'll all be hearing about it just as if someone did. Is this an American problem? Health officials in a growing list of countries scrambled Thursday to track people connected to a deadly outbreak of the Hantavirus on a cruise ship. The World Health Organization also predicted a limited spread of the virus if public health measures were implemented. This is not COVID. This is not influenza. This is Dr. Maria von Kerkhoff, the World Health Organization's head of epidemic and pandemic preparedness, saying in a news conference in Geneva Thursday, this spreads very, very differently. How? They're unsure on how to spin that yet. Human-to-human transmission of the Hantavirus, a family of viruses carried by rodents, is rare. And up until a week ago, you would have been told, impossible. Impossible. Doesn't happen, actually. For this super deadly form of it, only get it from a rodent. However, on this magic, nightmare cruise, you are going to get it from a bunch of different people. As soon as one guy gets it, he gives it to his wife, doesn't he? But good. And then she gives it to everyone else on the cruise ship. Whore. The Andes strain of the Hantavirus, which has been confirmed in cases tied to the cruise ship, is the only one known to spread from human to human, but it is transmitted primarily through close personal contact. What kind of cruise was this? This is not the start of a pandemic. This is not the start of a pandemic, she said over and over, hoping to God that it were true. Or it's just her line. It's just a line. Hey, we're going to call you, and then you're going to say, this isn't a pandemic, because the response to that is going to be overwhelming that it is, and here's why. They have to have everyone playing a role. Since April 11, 3 passengers who were aboard the MV Hantavirus, a Dutch-flagged cruise ship, 3 people have died, another 5 people have been sickened after showing symptoms of the hantavirus. According to the World Health Organization, health officials have confirmed 5 cases of the hantavirus on the ship so far, all of them involving the Andes strain, which is primarily found in South America. So we have officials on the case, just to make sure that we're on the right, we're keeping track here, we're on the right page. We have our first Israeli. Okay, we have our first major casus belli for political policy change. And we have the officials claiming that they're going to have credibility. You need to listen to them. They're on it. They know more. Okay, with us so far? Now we're going to have an actual doctor. The casting call has been answered by a doctor. Here from the Atlantic, what happened on the Hantavirus cruise? They're not going to want you to call it that. The MV Hantavirus, they're going to want you to call it something different. They do not want to be called the Hantavirus virus. The Hantavirus cruise, according to the doctor on board. Well, this is perfect. For how long were we asking? Oh, I have to do this. Oh, I don't want to do that. Do I have to sign up? Start a free trial. I don't even want to plan. I don't want to do any of that. They don't let you sign up with an email address. Okay. It's interesting. The other day they're saying we only have this one blogger influencer guy on the boat to talk to. We can't get a hold of anybody else. There's no one else credible who's, PR trained and ready to talk to the cameras to really get this story across to the people, especially when it's not real, especially when it's all fake. We have a couple crisis actors. They seem like they're competent enough. We've got some hypnotists. They've gone through. They've made sure that they really feel like they've lived this. They're still a little hazy on details. They get a little confused. They mix in reality with this story, but they've pretty much got the lines down. And that was just the influencer the other day. Now they've got a doctor. They write, when Stephen Kornfeld set sail, that's what a name. When Mr. Dr. Stephen Kornfeld set sail aboard the MV Hantavirus in early April, his grand plan for the cruise was to add as many new species as possible to his birding list. Gay. Where is that? Where is my button? Gay. No doubt. A medical oncologist based in Bend, Oregon, Kornfeld is also an avid birder. Second on eBird's renowned rankings of birders worldwide. This has to be a joke. It can't be real. That wasn't what I wanted to do. Where's the other one? It's not this. No, it's this one. It's still pretty terrible to hear it. Who the hell is a birder in 2026? I think that's code. That's like when President Barack Obama was ordering $65,000 of hot dogs. That's code. This is all code for something not good. The Atlantic, isn't that the best friend of Ghislaine Maxwell? I should probably flip over and make sure we're live. We're live on YouTube. We're live on X. We're live on Pill.net. We're live on Rumble. We're live on Odyssey. Good deal. Flip over to the chat and see what we're doing. Wisdom dispenser. I might do it for 7,000. Oh, a viral load or meeting an Israeli chick. Are we live on Odyssey? Who cares? Fuck Odyssey anyways. I hate that website. It's the hardest one to set up a stream for, and it's the dumbest and least of our returns. We are live on X, though, just to be sure. Let's scroll, see. Yes, live. Okay. And then make sure that I have that pulled up. At some point, I do want to talk about this story. Terrifying. Have you heard about this? Did you see this? A California mother pleading guilty to involuntary manslaughter after being accused of saran wrapping a 56-year-old man, her husband, I would assume, like a mummy, saran wrapping him, and then once he couldn't get his hands free, pouring glue in his eyes to seal them shut. Resulted in his death. Yeah, don't play bubble wrap games. Don't play saran wrap games. Don't play with plastic bags. Tell your kids don't do any stupid shit like this. People have head injuries and worse from falling when they've been taped up and then try to hop through a obstacle course. They fall over. They can't catch themselves. They crack their head open. She did this, I think, to like torture and torment him. Michaela Rylersdam. Michaela was allegedly paid $11,000 to engage in fetish play with a man, Michael Dale. Ooh, not her husband. Oh, even worse. This is nasty. Rylersdam, a married mother of 3, filmed content for 4 hours as Dale suffocated. She allegedly wrapped him up like a mummy, glued women's boots onto him, poured glue into his eyes to seal them shut. When police arrived at the scene, Dale was found with a bag over his head. Oh, she murdered him. According to reports, Rylersdam's husband was aware of her activities and even helped her run her business. So she was like a femdom kink lady, gonna go and do ball crushing shit for guys. That's disgusting. So she wraps him up in saran wrap. Then, as he's defenseless, she becomes fully sadistic, tortures him, glues his eyes shut. That's like out of the movie Seven. Like, oh, his worst sin was, maybe not the worst, his sin was he liked to watch her engage in the OF content creation, and he paid to be a part of it. And so she punishes him by gluing his eyes shut. Like Christ said, if your eyes cause you to sin, pluck them out. If your, hand causes you to sin, cut it off, that kind of thing. She took it a different way. Yeesh. I guess there's not really much to see there.
Kiss. It doesn't make sense to anybody else who cares.
Let's do it correct this time. You go boom, head down in cut. What boom? Da-da-da-da-da, boom. You go da-da-da, da-da-da-da, hey, then break. Da-da-da-da-da. That's it.
But I don't.
She seems like a real nasty pit bull going to prison. Good for her. Why is it only manslaughter? She murdered a guy. She tortured and then murdered a guy. The police show up. There's a plastic bag over his head. And so they're just like, involuntary manslaughter. He consented to being choked into being... Really? He consented to being murdered? Women get everything in this world, including a slap on the wrist when they kill a guy. The Atlantic says, again, what happened to the Hantavirus according to the doctor? Kornfeld got off track because he's a birder, and I'm pretty sure that means that he's into, chicken and stuff. He's into, I think this is a code. I could be wrong. He could just be into birds. Either way, though. Kornfeld's trip took an unexpected twist last week. He stepped in to care for 3 people thought to be sick with Hantavirus, a severe respiratory pathogen that can kill roughly half of the people it infects. Kornfeld was and still is a passenger on this boat, he told me. How are you still a passenger on the boat? but I have now become a doctor on this boat. Ah, because of my chivalry and my bravery and dealing with the patients who I swore an oath to protect, I said I would always help. I've become a doctor again. He was always a doctor. He was a birder, but now he's a doctor. Since the MV Hondius, I'm going to call it the MV Hontus from now on. For the MV Hondius virus departed, at least 8 people have come down with or have been confirmed with suspected or confirmed cases of Hantavirus virus. Hondius virus. 3 people have died. Again, I don't even believe it. I don't think it's even real. Maybe I'll do this. Maybe at some point between today and tomorrow's stream, I'll sit down tonight or tomorrow morning, because that's when I would have time. It's the only time in between now and then. And I'll use Grok, and I'll come up with like a mirror version of this that isn't really it, but it'll be simple and similar enough that you'll get the point, but it'll be different and believable enough that they might just buy the script from me and run it in 2030. I'm going to come up with a nice little story that mirrors this perfectly and is equally credible in terms of, can you call the people? Can you ask the question? Can you vet the truth out of this and see if it's actually even real? Are these people really people? Is Stephen Kornfeld, the birder turned hero doctor, a crisis actor? Or is it a character that someone has come up with and decided to write a story about? Like here, maybe I'll just do this. Look out for the interview tomorrow that I'll have, a written interview with one of the ship's crew. Yeah, that's right. I'm going to have an exclusive interview with one of the ship's crew. I'll have more on that tomorrow, but I'll just let you know, I'm in touch with one of the people on board who works for the cruise line as one of the staff. They're like a cleaning staff, but they do more. I'll explain tomorrow with their words. And then I'm just like the Atlantic, because now I've got a cool new story with a new source on the story that's not real. And it'll be a name with no number, and you won't have enough information to find his background, and it'll be a person with no family. So Stephen Kornfeld, the birder, and what is he, a physician? Is he an internist? Is he a pediatrician? He's a medical oncologist, so he studies cancer. Okay, so how does he deal with respiratory infections, diseases like this? Someone breathes in some rat feces and they start having a nasty cough, some halitosis. They die. Their wife gets it. Everyone on board gets it. The doctor's like, I'm just a cancer doctor. I don't really deal with this, but now I'm a hero. I don't buy it. Makes no sense to me. So here stateside, we're not talking to the people on the boat. We're not talking to the people who really would be found out if they were lying right off the bat. Instead, we're going to hear from people who just are ancillarily connected. They have insight into things like this. Maybe they used to read a science book or a biology textbook. So here's one, the Notre Dame expert. If you're keeping track, we now have the first Israeli. We have the first policy change request of the United States. We have the first experts claiming to know more, know better. We have the doctors jumping in as the heroes. We have the officials giving you the narrative, play by play. Let's hear from a Notre Dame expert.
Hey, we want to go in depth tonight on the story concerning many families out there right now. We're talking about the Hantavirus, which many of you...
The what? I thought it was the Hanta. Is it the Hanta? Is the Hanta? The Hanta. Is it the Bernie Sanders? Is the Hantavirus? Is the Hanta? I'm going to call it the Hondius, the MV Hondius virus. That seems like it would make the most sense. We always name a virus after where it comes from, right?
You have been fearing and hearing about over the last several days, especially as of late.
Yeah,
Let's call it the Tel Aviv virus. The Tel Aviv virus. The Televirus. No, but we're getting closer. It's not the Yehudi virus, but we're getting closer.
Virus has been blamed for several illnesses recently, including a few deaths for people on board a cruise ship. So here now to tell us more about it and how it spreads and how you can really keep yourself safe is Bernard Nolan. He's director of the Eck Institute for Global Health at the University of Notre Dame. Thank you so much for being here.
We've got to first talk about it. What is Hantavirus? For those who are watching right now, I've never heard of it before.
Sure. Well, Hantavirus, it's actually a family of viruses that infect rodents around the world. It was first identified here in the United States in an outbreak back in 1993. Here in the U.S., it's actually the cute little deer mouse, which is the main rodent that's infected with Hantavirus. Not all of them, but
okay.
And the rodents themselves don't get that sick, but if it jumps into humans, that's where the problem occurs, because in humans,
our bodies aren't used to that, it sounds like, right?
Yeah, it isn't. And it starts off, you kind of fever, flu-like illness. Some people can go on to have a kind of a severe pneumonia. And it's pretty serious. I mean, there's estimates up to 50% of people who develop severe illness will go on to die. Here in it's rare.
You know what? I got an estimate. 100% of people are going to die. Everyone's going to die, including this joker. Nice sweater vest, too.
But serious.
Okay, talk a little bit about how it spreads specifically. It has to do with their droppings, right? But isn't there a rare strain that also allows it to transmit from human to human, or?
Right. So here in the United States, the common strain is called sin nombre. And I should say most of the cases in the United States are in the Southwest.
Okay, gotcha.
Like, New Mexico, Arizona, Colorado, the drier desert areas.
Okay, so not moving there. Okay.
Yeah, there's never been a case reported in Indiana that I'm aware of. But going back to how it's transmitted.
Well, then go Irish. How's the Notre Dame expert know so much when there's never been a case in Indiana? Hello? Until Michigan City is an epicenter, I don't want to hear it from this guy.
Here in the United States, that virus has never shown human-to-human transmission, so it is getting...
We're not getting it human to human, we're getting it Israeli to human.
Exposure to contaminated dust.
Get a life, Jews.
Talk about contaminated dust. Look at what the Israelis just did to Gaza.
Get a life, Jews.
So dust is contaminated with droppings or urine from the rodents themselves.
Wow. So I want to bring up this video too, because the reason
this guy. This is exactly what he sounds like.
So it is getting exposure to contaminated dust. So dust is contaminated with droppings or urine from the rodents themselves.
Wow. So I want to.
Wow. What a crock. This is all so dumb. I hate it. So preposterous. Appreciate you being here. If you would, hit the like button, share a link to the show. You got a few people watching on various platforms. Reminder that we're live on YouTube, we're live on X, we're live on Rumble, we're live on pill.net, we're live on Odyssey. So if you wanted to find any of those links, you can jump in the description of the video, allmylinks.com/AmericaFloats, or just head over to X, find @TommyBorumJokes, and follow me there.
Bring up this video too, because the reason this is all coming up is because of the cruise ship that we've been hearing about. This cruise ship that's had infected people.
It's a nightmare
over the last week or so, right? I mean, it really is nightmare on water for so many people.
Okay, so that's B-roll. That may or may not be the boat, but this is way old footage. And you're hearing it. They're going to tell you again very articulately. They're saying, we're hearing about this boat. We're hearing stories about the boat, but we're not seeing any actual evidence. We don't have any real proof. We're just hearing stories. And what do we know? Well, they can make that up. They wheeled out a fake Epstein body. Let me remind you all, right now, the federal government fully admits, no one is hiding this information. They're happy to cooperate and admit this now. The U.S. government created or found a cadaver body or concocted a fake body. We're still not sure. Was it rubber? They don't know. But they will admit to you it was a fake body for the Epstein morgue walk. The body that they wheeled out of the DC DOC that the media took photos of and reported back to the public. That was the Epstein body. They now admit, years later, oh, yeah, that was a fake body. We used a body double just in case there was any funny business, but just in case someone tried to attack the body or blow him up or whatever. We used a body double. We doubled Epstein as we moved his dead body out of DC DOC. Why? They claimed it was because it was for the media. We had to make sure there was a good media show. We had to have something for you guys to all look at. And as we put. And then that story went away pretty quick, didn't it? They admitted that. They admitted that body wasn't real. And then. So would they make up a boat? Would they make up a hantavirus? Would they just make up 3 dead people? Because they're not even showing you the bodies. They're just showing you people in workers' outfits going, ooh, we're making a scuttlebutt on the top of a boat. And you see the same clip repeated a few different times for 30 seconds total. And you go, wow, interesting. Yeah, they're in full garb. They're in full quarantine outfits. Oh, very, very convincing. They're in full dress for the rehearsal. No, it's for the full show. We're watching it. So dumb.
From the rodents themselves.
Wow. So I want to bring up this video too, because the reason this is all coming up is because of the cruise ship that we've been hearing about. This cruise ship that's had infected people.
It's a nightmare
over the last week.
Nightmare cruise ship. All we've heard about it. We haven't seen really anything, but we're hearing a lot.
You're so right. I mean, it really is nightmare on water for so many people and families. So this is why this is coming up now more than ever. What are you hearing in the media right now? What are you hearing out in the community from even your students maybe talking about this that isn't necessarily true that you want to debunk for our viewers as well?
Yeah, well, rightly, because again, you can't turn on the radio or TV without hearing about the hantavirus on this cruise ship outbreak. And again, it's a good reason for people to, it's a great story and people should be concerned, but most of us shouldn't be concerned.
Got it.
There still is this idea, well, this is the next COVID. The hantaviruses are totally different than coronaviruses that cause COVID or influenza viruses called seasonal flu. Those viruses are very transmissible in humans, whereas this one is not.
Interesting. This one is not transmissible by humans, typically. It's not at all like the flu, not at all like corona. The coronavirus causes, COVID, and the influenza, causes flu, and hantavirus, that's going to cause the hantavirus. This guy is retarded. The only thing we're getting out of it is that he knows the family of hantaviruses typically are not human-to-human transmission, but as I've said, we're getting them from Israelis, not humans.
There is, however, one rare strain.
Get a life, Jews.
Yeah.
And it's the strain that's associated with this cruise outbreak. It's the Andean strain. And there's some evidence of limited human-to-human transmission if you're in really close contact, or a close or intimate partner. Also, we just need to realize on a cruise ship, that's not a normal environment.
Correct. Correct. You hear about viruses all the time, not just this specific. You hear norovirus.
Why does he say it that way?
Transmission if you're in really close contact, or a close or intimate partner. Also, we just need to realize on a cruise ship, that's not a normal environment.
I don't believe it's a real cruise ship. I don't believe the people are really out there the way they said they were. I don't believe the story at all, for not even a minute. I think the Dre chick who did the little investigation and 2-part video series on it made a lot of sense, where she's saying the different reporting. One, yeah, you could have reporting errors in the dates and the times. They could get those data mistaken. But we saw, last night we looked at it together, it says April 1 departure. And then later they said, oh, no, it was April 4th and it was a different port. And what that looks like to me is they had the initial script before they filled in the ad-libs. And so it was April 1, and that's like a big wink. It's a joke. It's a big fuck you to anyone who would believe it. And then they change the dates. They fill it in with stuff that's more believable, more fitting for the story and the timeline. But the news is not all on the same page. They don't all have the same song sheet, and they're not all singing the same lyrics. So it just seems odd. The more that they tell you, the more is not lining up with the other things that other people are saying. And so again, I point this out, it just serves the purpose to confuse and distract and dissuade any attention being given to the things that actually matter. And Laura Loomer, I think, gives away the whole game with her post. She says she wouldn't even be surprised if Iran is behind the Hantavirus, which one tells you people in our Pentagon believe that there is someone behind it being the story of it, or a release or anything else, and two, that she's going to project the guilt of Israel onto Iran. That's how I see it.
Correct. You hear about viruses all the time, not just this specific. You hear norovirus, especially on cruise ships, right?
The airflow isn't great.
Yeah, so you can imagine, and there, at least at the moment, it appears as though maybe this virus, people were infected in Argentina before they ever got on the cruise ship.
Okay.
But because it does have some limited human-to-human transmission, you're in this very enclosed environment, you can, and there did appear to be transmission here on the ship.
I think this is important. I just want to wrap it up here. But the WHO, World Health Organization, has actually come together, convened today, this morning, about this. It should not be taken too serious like COVID, but it's serious enough that they're coming together to talk about this, right?
Yeah, it's serious enough that we need to come together and condemn the United States for leaving the World Health Organization, claw the Americans back in, and bring their wallets with them when they rejoin. So policy changes are coming, at least that they're demanded, right? There's just one thing that this could do to serve the Israelis. Allow for the Americans to go broker by just being involved in more of these organizations and committees and one world government like things. It's interesting that guy, as the host of his news show, he's the anchor or a co-anchor, the gay black guy. It seems odd that he's like excited to push it. He knows the talking points, he knows the narrative, and now he's going to make it sound conversational. Why would you be excited to do that? Yeah, and now the World Health Organization is getting together, and they're saying it's not that serious, but it's serious enough to meet. And it's not that serious, but it's serious enough to scare you about and have a couple segments on and maybe a few days worth of coverage over. And it's not that serious, but we need everyone to know about it so that when we decide we were wrong, it is serious, we're locking down, everyone's already 1 foot in.
Well, it's serious because, like I said, anyone who's infected, it is a serious disease, and the fact that this particular strain does have some evidence of human-to-human transmission, as opposed to the types here in the United States that don't do that. That's why they're doing, multi-country investigations, and some of these passengers have now left the ship. Some of them are back here in the United States or another European country. So.
How is that some passengers have left the ship, but others haven't? Like we heard the doctor say? I became a doctor on this boat. I was and still am a passenger. Hold the fucking phone. How are you still on the fucking boat? It's May 7th. Maybe he says, I'm going to do the world a favor and die on the boat. I'm going to go down with the boat. You know, the ship's captain? Right next to the doctor, and I'm the doctor now, he says. This is so retarded. Well, okay, so far we've heard from the first Israeli, we've heard from the first experts, we've heard from the first officials, we've heard from the first doctor. Now we've got just a random woman who has been cast as a witness to the breakout on the boat. Outbreak? Coastal Georgia woman. Is that her handle? Is that her influencer name? Is that her blog? Hey guys, check out the Coastal Georgian woman. A coastal Georgian woman was on a cruise ship hit by Hantavirus. Interesting. Let's hear it.
Leader, the news at 5 starts now.
Hello and thank you for joining us for The News at 5. I am Joe Hennessy. Health experts are working around the clock to contact trace.
Wait, is that what they're saying? The News at 5. They're not saying the news at 5. It's the news? Are they? What? This is Savannah, Georgia, not the Ohio State University.
Leader, the news at 5 starts now.
That's so terrible. Why did they do that? The news. I should do that for this show. Welcome back to the live stream. You guys, if you don't mind, hit the like button and share a link to the show. That'd be awesome. Also go over to the link in the description below. I missed one on that one. Go to allmylinks.com/AmericaFloats and find the list of links. This is so dumb. I'm not going to be able to stop.
Hello and thank you for joining us for the News at 5. I am Joe Hennessy. Health experts are working around the clock to contact trace the
Are they not working around the clock?
Hantavirus outbreak on a cruise ship that's claimed the lives of 3 passengers. Doctors flying a passenger from the quarantine ship MV Hantavirus to Amsterdam, then taken to...
This is the kind of shit I'm talking about. One guy, he's in blue, so you know he's a doctor. The other guy's just in white, so he's a patient. This looks so staged and fake and gay that I can't... I'm sorry.
Health experts are working around the clock to contact trace the Hantavirus outbreak on a cruise ship that's claimed the lives of 3 passengers. Doctors flying a passenger from the quarantine ship MV Hantavirus to Amsterdam, then taken to a German hospital for observation and testing. And it's among the latest steps.
Oh my God. Yeah, this is why we have a problem, guys. This is the outbreak. Here, this is what's happening. Oh my God.
Bruh.
Steps to trace and stop the spread of the virus. And WTOC is working to get answers as the Georgia Department of Health has confirmed that 2 people in the state are being monitored for it right now.
What the fuck? So is every state just going to say, oh yeah, by the way, we have a couple of people we're watching for hantavirus. We're not going to tell you who they are. Obviously, that'd be inappropriate, but we will tell you, just to seed the information, we're watching a couple people that might have it. And then in a couple weeks, we're going to tell you they do have it. And then in a couple months, they're going to be like, oh, our state death toll is 400.
Lead investigator Shay Schrader joins us live in the newsroom. Shay, what do we know? You've been on top of this all day long.
No, they shouldn't have Shay. They should have Dre. She would have a lot better info than this chick, I bet.
Joe, the truth is we don't know a lot about this.
See, I knew it. She doesn't know a lot. That other chick knew a ton.
After we reached out to the Department of Public Health yesterday to confirm whether there were Georgians being monitored, a spokesperson responded 2 people in the state are being monitored for hantavirus after being on the ship at the center of the outbreak.
How many people are on this boat to begin with? Let's get a total number disembarked. How many people are actually on the boat when it leaves port? Let's get that number first. And why doesn't the news figure out every single person who was on the manifesto or on the manifest? Either way. Instead of, in the next coming weeks and months, you're going to have people popping up claiming, like Holocaust survivors, to have been in a place that, 1, they weren't, and 2, didn't happen and didn't exist.
The spokesperson said those 2 people are currently healthy and are following recommended CDC protocols. We followed up with several.
They're currently healthy and are following protocols. So why are they being watched? Why are they being monitored at all? Does that make sense to anybody?
Several questions. We asked what part of the state the 2 people live in, what specific CDC recommendations are being followed, if those people are being quarantined, and lastly, whether there's a threat to the public. DPH refused to answer any of those questions. However, we still have been working to get answers. Coming up on The News at 6, we've learned a coastal Georgia...
Coming up on The News at 6 from Shay Schrader. That's a mouthful. Can you imagine being a little kid trying to introduce yourself at church with braces? Hi, I'm Shay Schrader.
Woman was on the ship where the outbreak took place and interacted with 2 of the people who have passed.
She even has a little bit of a lisp there.
DPH refused to answer any of those questions. However, we still have been working to get answers. Coming up on The News at 6, we've learned a coastal Georgia woman was on the ship where the outbreak took place and interacted with 2 of the people who have passed away from the virus. For now, live in the newsroom, Shay Schrader, WTOC Investigator.
Wow, so didn't have close contact, but had, interacted with the 2 people who died. So we're going to watch them and see if they brought back the alien virus, the hantavirus. interesting thoughts. Jane Doe on YouTube says that she assumes the plan is to blame the virus on aliens or UFOs. It's possible. Possible, but I think they're going to go this route. This virus was released in South America intentionally by Iranians. And our intel is going to come from Israel. Tel Aviv is going to be telling us this. It's the Tel Aviv virus. I just can't get over it. It's all day when you look at these headlines for this stupid fake outbreak. And again, I think it's a fake boat event. I think they look at the list of ships they have in a shipyard somewhere and they say, okay, this one's not scheduled for anything. Okay, we need to get a boat. We need to send it out into the middle of the ocean. We need to have people on it. We need to have it prepped and ready. Not a real cruise, but we need to have something we can point out to and say, look at that, that's the boat. And we need to have the data in place so we can call back on it when we have these stories prepared and published in the media to give the public the impression that there is a real virus and that there is a real outbreak. And all the while, if they ask questions, we'll have a few people, we'll have some things filmed, we'll have some things photographed, we'll have a real boat, we'll have the B-roll footage for when we advertise that boat. For tours, we're going to have that as the B-roll footage for the news. It'll all look good, look great. And that will be enough. While it's not real, it's not true, but those things they're showing you are real. But the story they're telling you isn't true. It's all scripted out. It's all a simulated news event. That's enough to make people at home freak out, to make the business owners decide to hold their cards close, to make the banks kind of recoil, to make the economy hiccup or shut down, and to give the pretext for lockdowns if they want it. And again, as I'm saying, I don't believe that the virus even has to be real at all. They can flip through a book of known viruses. Ooh, you know what would be bad is if a Hantavirus came out. They said the same thing about a coronavirus. They said the same thing about other flu viruses. So you pick a new virus. Say measles. Oh, a new super measles has come out. They could have said that, but they went with Hantavirus. Tomorrow they could come with the Santa Maria virus. It doesn't matter. They give you the name of a virus. Is it foreign enough sounding to you? Sounds good. Pick a place that no one can go and check and see if it's actually happening or even there or not. Oh, it's on a cruise ship in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. Is it a major cruise line? No, it's super small foreign cruise line, holds a few hundred people. Oh, okay, well, can we make contact with some of them and hear their testimonies and see that it's a real thing? Nope. Nothing like that. We have one travel blogger who's like a PR trained guy who for the last few weeks hasn't been posting at all. And now the video that the news has from him is also not posted on his page, almost like it was created for him based on his other content to appear as if it is his, to appear genuine. All of this is just to appear as if the story is real. And so then it makes sense when we see things like this popping up. We're going to track, it's going to be a limited outbreak. We have a Dutch flight attendant, a French national, no one by name, no one that you can really track or vet or keep up with or confirm that is real. We got a birder who's become a hero doctor. The guy from Indiana who's never seen hantavirus but has studied it. He's read a lot of books. Knows what they used to know about hantavirus. Of course, we know this new outbreak will be all different. Just like how they said, we know about how coronaviruses work in the past, but the coronavirus that we have for COVID-19, it's different. And then now, at least, this isn't the woman, for the record, but at least one coastal Georgia woman, and I'm assuming her travel companion, are being watched by their government. And this is the crazy thing to hear. The government is monitoring a couple who's completely healthy. What is it that I see back there? What is this? What is that? Holy smokes. Do you guys see this? Do you see what I see?
Get a life, Jews.
This is a newsroom, but you could have had it called a Jews room. It would have made sense. Look at this, a fucking yarmulke. And that's not what that is. It's a menorah. Is that what that is? A menorah? In the back of the newsroom over at WTOC 11, the Southwest Leader.
Gates.
Come here, Moses.
The fuck?
Moses, a 6-year-old German Shepherd.
No, it's not. Show me this again. Okay, so
The news.
they have a menorah in the back of the newsroom.
Took place in and around.
That is the craziest thing. Anyways, I think it's all fake. I think Israel says we need some distractions, please. We don't like how things are going in America and around the world. We need everyone to just go, stop. We have something more serious to do. And so they created the fake reason to do something more serious. I don't believe it's real at all, but you're going to have the news not caring if it's true or false. They just have to report the facts that they've been given on the sheet, and the sheet got faxed over by CIA. I don't think the CIA is writing it. I think our PSYOPs are typically a little bit better. The foreign-led PSYOPs are the ones that we can all see through very clearly, and that's what agitates us. And I'm feeling pretty agitated, especially after seeing this. I thought this lady killed her husband. No, it's just a pervert she took advantage of and then murdered. Unbelievable. If you would, hit the like button, share a link to the show. We'll subscribe. Oh, let's see. Mary Kay Delvey over in the chat on YouTube, hello, says it's zoonotic, animal to human or environmentally transmitted. If you stay away from infected rat feces, you'll all be fine. Okay, well, I don't know how much Hantavirus you've come in contact with, but I'm not going to just be taking anyone's word for it. It's zoonotic. You're zoonotic. Jane Doe, again, thank you for your input. Appreciate that. Good to see everybody in the chat. All right, well, if you haven't already, go follow me on X. We'll keep it there. I know I was a little late starting this evening. That's going to happen. Deal with it. I'll be on time tomorrow, and we'll see you then.